In the video that follows, three friends are hanging out at home alone when one of them decides to call his mom after something frightening takes place.
10 minutes, so I need you to stay calm though, okay?
Okay,
So calm, quiet, keep the door locked.
All three of them have barricaded themselves inside this room, and understandably so. A little while earlier, they'd heard a loud bang coming from downstairs, followed by other strange noises throughout the house. Convinced someone had broken in, they dialed the police.
glass, was it metal? What does it sound like?
I thought it was just like a big thud and then...
Have you heard what?
Now this is where things start to get interesting, because after officers swept the entire property, they turned up zero evidence of forced entry and found nothing to suggest an intruder had ever been there. With no sign of anyone unauthorized on the premises, the police pack up and head out. But when one of the friends later reviewed the footage they had recorded, the teen spotted something deeply unsettling. It turns out that before the officers showed up, all three of them had gone to investigate the source of the noises themselves, apparently ready to handle whatever they found. During that walkthrough, something happens that convinces the friend who actually lives there to grab his belongings and go. Safe to say, they were rattled. Here's what their camera captured.
Okay? Alright, I'll see you soon. I love you.
I love you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
One of the friends had caught what appeared to be movement somewhere in the darkness. Though nothing obvious shows up on camera at that moment, something else entirely is visible in the footage. Something none of them actually noticed until they sat down and watched it back afterward. In case it slipped past you, here's the moment in question. There, in the shadows, something can be seen passing behind the railing in one fluid, rapid movement. This unidentified shape glides by without producing a single sound, and the way it moves almost suggests it isn't touching the ground at all. What makes it genuinely unsettling, though, is that a face appears to be visible within it. It's not immediately obvious, but on closer inspection, distinct facial features seem to emerge briefly before it vanishes. The combination of its eerie, low-to-the-ground movement and the apparent face has led the group to conclude that what they caught was a ghost on camera. Their take is that it resembles a disembodied floating head drifting past, and the fact that they didn't see this until after the police had already left isn't lost on them. As they point out, had the officers been shown this at the time, who knows how that conversation would have gone. The shadowy shape they spotted in the moment was enough to send them over the edge, but this detail would have absolutely terrified them on the spot. As always, drop your thoughts in the comments below. Our next clip comes from a home security camera, uploaded by a mother whose kids were hanging out in the living room. You can hear them laughing and taunting what they believe to be a ghost, telling it they weren't afraid. Then, within seconds, the atmosphere shifts completely. a sharp burst of air tears through the room with enough force to actually register on the footage, sending lightweight objects flying. But here's where things stop making sense. Rather than pushing the already open door further open the way a natural draft would, the door slams violently shut. If that air had originated from outside, the door should have swung outward with it. Instead, it moved in the opposite direction, which means whatever caused it would have had to originate from inside the room itself, traveling from the far wall straight toward the doorway. These sudden concentrated blasts of air are frequently reported as a sign of something asserting its presence, particularly when that presence seems to be responding directly to being provoked. Two friends managed to capture this unsettling footage after something in the attic window of a house across the street caught their attention. A shadowy figure could be seen moving inside the window, swinging back and forth from one side to the other.
I was not doing that. Once we points it out, and once I get out the camera, and then you can see the light. Oh my God! What is that? And it's not a shape of a person either.
There was nothing about the moment that felt planned or anticipated. The pair had no idea how to make sense of what they were watching. Whatever it was, it didn't move the way a person normally would. The whole thing seemed too quick, too erratic, too wrong. By their account, it kept going for a brief period before the window suddenly went dead still, like nothing had been there at all. Some people in the comments theorized it could have been a curtain caught in a draft. Others weren't buying it. The trees in the area showed zero movement, and the friends pointed out that the attic window was completely sealed, which makes it hard to explain why anything inside would be shifting around like that. No one has been able to crack this one. So what do you think was lurking behind that attic window? Drop your thoughts down below. What exactly did he witness in there that sent him fleeing in absolute terror? Let's get into it. A man by the name of Javier was living somewhere in Argentina, along with his closest companion, Antonio. For a while, everything appeared perfectly ordinary, and the two were rarely apart. But then, out of nowhere, Antonio began experiencing something deeply unsettling and started withdrawing from everyone around him. Javier had a gut feeling that something was haunting his friend, though he struggled to accept it. Then one day, Javier went looking for Antonio and came up completely empty-handed. He knocked on the door repeatedly and got no response whatsoever. Left with no other option, Javier decided to enter through the rear of the house to search for him. What his camera picks up in those first moments is enough to make your skin crawl.
¿Dónde carajo se habrá metido este? Me asustó. Casi no hay nadie acá. Ya fue, vamos. Vamos a meternos en la casa de este loco, a ver qué onda. Hace como 2 semanas que no da señales de vida, no aparece nada. Vamos a saltar acá. abierta. Antonio. Antonio. ¡Eh! Qué raro, che. Toño, soy yo. Javier. La puta madre. ¡Ey! Perdón. Loco! Soy Javier, boludo. Che, loco, ¿sos vos? Ya fue, boludo. Vine a ver qué onda, ¿cómo andás? ¿Estás bien? Che, loco, si sos vos, salí. ¿Escuchan eso?
He calls out Antonio's name again and again throughout the house, but silence is all that greets him. Then he opens a particular door, and what's waiting on the other side is the stuff of nightmares.
Toño. ¡La puta madre que lo parió! Se colgó este hijo de puta.
He discovers Antonio hanging in one of the rooms, and the shock of it sends him bolting out in a panic. As he tears down the hallway, he notices something perched above one of the tall fixtures, seemingly watching him, and that's all the motivation he needs to get out of there as fast as his legs will carry him. He contacts the authorities shortly after, and once they assess the situation, they seal off the windows and all entry points to the property. What they didn't know, however, was that Javier had taken the keys with him during his time inside. After enduring a series of deeply disturbing experiences on the property, he becomes absolutely convinced that something unnatural is at work, and he refuses to rest until he understands what drove his 22-year-old friend to end his own life. He eventually makes his way back in through the same rear entrance. Here's what his camera recorded.
Encontré a Antonio. Esta es la pieza. Mierda. Una laucha. Da un poco de escalofrío estar acá, se siente una carga poco pesada, qué sé yo. ¡Qué mierda! La linterna. ¿Qué pasó? ¡Qué mierda! ¡Ey! ¿Quién es? ¿Quién anda ahí? Mierda. Concha de su madre. La puta que te parió. ¡Hola! ¿Qué mierda anda ahí la concha de su madre? ¡Ey!
He spots a figure walking into one of the rooms, but the moment he steps in after them, the room is completely empty. Then, as he turns around, a door slams shut directly in front of him with no visible cause, and the same figure reappears briefly before vanishing around a corner. Javier is now convinced that whatever inhabits this house is toying with him, and that something deeply sinister was responsible for driving Antonio to that unthinkable act. He installs security cameras throughout the property, and they begin capturing disturbing activity almost right away. Pay close attention to what shows up. A shadowy figure is seen moving through the house, accompanied by doors slamming on their own and unsettling sounds echoing from every direction. Viewers are divided on whether this presence is Antonio's spirit, now trapped within those walls, or something far darker altogether. Either way, Javier is not backing down until the full truth behind his friend's tragic end comes to light. So hopefully, more answers will surface soon. Two friends are just kicking back at home when things take a frightening turn. You can see them cautiously making their way through the house, checking each room one by one, and they have every reason to be on edge. Just moments earlier, they'd heard loud thuds and crashing noises echoing from several different parts of the house. With no clue what's behind it, they make the call to sweep the place themselves, staying alert in case someone has broken in. Here's what their camera recorded.
Yeah. My floor. What?
room. I didn't hear anything. Every time I start recording, it stops. Is it yours?
Yeah.
Your room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're up there.
They push open the door to find the room in complete disarray, and when they follow the noise to the next room, there's not a single person in sight. Now apparently this isn't the first time something like this has gone down, which is probably why neither of them seems all that rattled. He also mentions that whenever he pulls out a camera, the activity tends to die down. Fortunately, they had a camera already rolling in the bedroom, and it caught everything that went down in there. Pay close attention to what happens next. Strangely, the object appears to shift upward at an odd angle, hover there for a few seconds, then move once more before finally dropping to the ground. Even now, neither of them has any explanation for what's been happening inside that house, but here's hoping they come back with answers. The TikTok profile you're looking at belongs to a woman named Brooke. She doesn't have a lot of content on her page, but one particular upload stopped viewers in their tracks. Several months prior, she had lost her dad, and late one evening as she was heading out the door, she thought she picked up on a strange sound. She brushed it off in the moment, figuring her imagination might be getting the better of her, but when she went back and reviewed her Ring camera footage, she found something she simply couldn't make sense of. See for yourself what the camera recorded. As Brooke steps outside, a soft voice can be heard in the audio, seemingly saying, "Stay here." She instantly knew it as the voice of her father. The response from viewers was divided. Some were fully convinced it said, "Stay here," while others felt it was closer to, "I'm here," or maybe even, "Hey dear." The comment section quickly filled up with people opening up about their own experiences of sensing loved ones who had already passed. So here's the question. Was this a genuine message from Brooke's father, reaching out from beyond, or simply a sound that happened to hit close to home? Let us know what you think. Late one evening, a group of friends decided to explore an abandoned hospital that appeared to have been left completely untouched for years, slowly crumbling into ruin. After finding a way to get inside, they descended into the network of tunnels running beneath the building, where they were suddenly thrown off balance by something unseen. They pressed further into the pitch-black corridors, and what they ultimately came across had them sprinting back the way they came.
Multilemni.
Out of nowhere, something was there. That was also the moment the camera slipped and plunged into the dark water below. Whatever it was seemed to take offense at their presence. Perhaps it was the fact that they were dressed head to toe in white, a choice that appeared to draw unwanted attention. Slowly, deliberately, it turned to face them. The researchers on the team insisted that what they encountered showed signs of awareness, and though it eventually retreated, the tension in that moment was unmistakable. Nobody walked away from that tunnel without chills running down their spine. So just what exactly was hiding in that darkness? And was it watching them the entire time? YouTuber Midwest. Ghost Hunter sets his sights on one of the most unsettling locations in the Midwest, the infamous Argo Hotel in Crofton, Nebraska. Originally constructed in 1911 as a luxury railroad hotel catering to the upper class, the building was later converted into the New Meridian Sanatorium in 1930. This facility became notorious for its brutal and experimental medical practices, among them electroshock therapy, electroconvulsive treatment, and induced coma procedures. Countless patients are believed to have perished within those walls, leaving behind a haunted legacy that refuses to fade. One of the most frequently reported apparitions is a young girl spotted sprinting through the basement, thought to be a child who suffered at the hands of the sanatorium's merciless experiments. Then there's Alice, a woman said to have died during labor somewhere in the basement. Her weeping has reportedly been heard drifting through the corridors as she wanders in search of her lost child. In a deeply disturbing twist, the skeletal remains of an infant were uncovered inside the walls during a renovation, casting an even darker shadow over Alice's heartbreaking story. Despite all of these grim accounts surrounding the Argo Hotel, Midwest Ghost Hunter pressed forward, and what he uncovered that night is enough to make your blood run cold.
Those ones. That sounded like a lady's voice, right there. I swear to God, I just heard that right behind me. Alice, is that you? She's that ghostly woman that they see wandering around. Could you say something again? I don't know if I'm just losing it, but I swear to God I heard that. I'm not hearing anything else. It's dead quiet. Alice, was that you I just heard? Whoa. There's something standing right over there. It was right behind that couch. There was something literally standing in that photo. It was like a mist or something. But I'm not seeing it anymore. It's completely gone. Okay, Alice. I think I see you over there.
During his walkthrough of the hotel, he decided to snap a series of photographs in hopes of capturing something paranormal on film. What he found stopped him cold. One image clearly showed the dark silhouette of a woman standing directly behind the couch. He immediately took more shots of the exact same area, but just like that, the figure was gone without a trace. He pressed on, making his way toward the most feared room in the entire building, a space where a woman is believed to have met a violent and untimely end, and what happens next will crawl under your skin.
I smell something floral. It smells like perfume. I mean, it could be coming from this. I don't really smell it from there, though. It's like coming from somewhere else. Ma'am, is that your perfume I'm smelling? I'm not alone in this room. I am not alone. That came from over in here now. It sounded like the bed. The bed moving. Holy shit. Nope. I'm done. I'm done. No way am I going back in there. Hell no. I am literally desperately fighting not to scream right now. That whole freaking bedding, it just unraveled all on its own.
As he stood inside that room, the bedding lurched suddenly, as though something invisible had grabbed and pulled it. Gripped by terror, he bolted out of the room, visibly shaken and struggling to process what he had just seen. But he refused to let fear win, steeled himself, and headed back inside to face whatever was waiting for him. What followed left him even more rattled than before.
Oh no. Oh no. What the hell is that now? There's freaking water. Water running in there. What the hell is that? Is that the freaking bathtub? What the hell? Oh my god. Oh, hell no. Hell no. Alright, I'm done. I'm done with this room. I'm ready to be out of here. Holy shit. That freaking thing just turned on.
Back inside the room, the bathroom faucet switched on completely on its own. Stunned, he reached over and turned it off, then made up his mind to abandon the room entirely. Before leaving, though, he positioned a camera inside to keep recording, and it captured something worth seeing. For the final leg of his investigation, he descended into the dreaded basement. What awaited him in that suffocating darkness was so terrifying that he had no choice but to cut the stream short and get out as fast as he could.
Holy shit, okay. I swear to God, I just seen the freaking figure, like, run past that doorway. It was like a white figure. I don't know if I caught it on camera or not, but I sure hope I did. Is that you? Running around down here? You don't have to be scared. Oh, jeez. That came from this corner. Oh God. Those are some freaky dolls. Did you just make that noise? It definitely came from over here. Little girl, if that was you, would you be able to... Oh, God! Alright, that's it. That's it. That doll just turned and looked at me, and I am done. Get me out of here. Get me out of here.
While moving through the basement, a doll abruptly rotated its body to look directly at him, as if something had animated it. That was all it took. He turned and ran, and he didn't look back. Whether the activity stems from the building's brutal history or something far older and more sinister, one thing is beyond dispute. Whatever lives inside the Argo Hotel is not ready to let go of its secrets. A man reported that an aggressive female entity had been tormenting him inside his house for several months. One day, while he and his partner were relaxing together in the living room, their camera happened to catch something absolutely chilling on film. See for yourself what unfolded. As the man lounged casually on the sofa, some invisible force abruptly seemed to drag his legs out from under him. Within moments, he was hurled off the couch and landed hard on the floor. Startled and disoriented, he frantically scanned the room, only to find no one else around. Despite reaching out for spiritual assistance, the strange incidents reportedly kept happening, leaving both him and his partner gripped by ongoing fear. Somewhere in South America, back in August 2021, a street-facing security camera picked up something that's genuinely hard to explain. Judge for yourself what's going on here. Out of nowhere, a dim, shadowy shape materialized, took a slow handful of steps, and then disappeared completely right in the center of the frame. There are those who are convinced this is solid proof of paranormal activity, suggesting the hazy silhouette could be a ghost or wandering spirit that happened to wander into the camera's view. On the other side of the debate, skeptics aren't so sure, pointing to the possibility that it was nothing more than a technical glitch or some kind of trick of the light. So where do you land on this one? I'll leave the verdict entirely up to you. Drop your thoughts down in the comments below. Our next clip comes from a Mexican TikTok user named Luis Balderas, who pulls night shifts at a local nightclub. Every evening at around 11 p.m., Luis and the rest of the staff would hear bizarre sounds drifting in from the adjacent storeroom. Eventually, Luis decided to go check it out himself, and here's what his camera recorded.
Algo se está moviendo allá arriba. No mames, ¿qué fue eso? Me está temblando la mano. Uf. No mames. De hecho, esta que está como cerrada. Aquí. No hay nada. Miren aquí. No mames. ¿Qué fue eso? No mames. No mames. ¿Qué fue eso? No manches.
A shirt slides along a hanging rail completely on its own. Luis moves in to get a closer look, and at first everything appears normal. Then, without any warning, an object gets hurled across the floor, nearly making him jump out of his skin. He keeps the camera rolling, edging toward a room he's certain is locked from the outside. That's the moment a metal sheet begins shaking violently with no apparent cause. But wait, did you catch that? There's a figure standing inside that locked room, just staring back at him. The instant Luis spots it, the figure bolts to the right and disappears into the dark. Completely rattled, Luis sprints out of the building in a full panic, vowing he will never set foot in that place again. Graveyards have long been regarded as some of the most supernaturally charged locations on the planet. Countless individuals report encountering apparitions, hearing voices with no source, and witnessing objects shift without explanation. Despite this, many cemeteries remain open to visitors, and plenty of people stroll through them without a second thought. One such person is a man named Archie, who regularly walks through the cemetery near his home and has never paid much mind to the headstones or the legends surrounding them. That is, until something stopped him in his tracks. A set of wind chimes hanging beside one of the graves appeared to swing on their own, as though an invisible force had given them a nudge. When he got home and described the incident to his wife, she recommended he set up a trail camera at that spot overnight to see whether anything unusual would show up. He took her advice, and what the camera recorded is nothing short of unsettling. The footage captured by Archie's trail camera appears to show a pale, ghostly shape hovering near the grave. It lingers for a brief moment before disappearing completely. Archie wasn't sure what to think at first, but he has since grown convinced that his camera documented an actual spirit that evening. A large number of people who've seen the clip share that belief, calling it genuine proof of the paranormal. But where do you stand? Could this truly be a ghost? Drop your thoughts below. For a lot of people, a solo nighttime stroll is a part of their daily routine. Some use it to shake off the tension built up throughout the day. Others just want to breathe in some cool night air. Whatever the reason, it's a personal thing. Sadly, not every late-night walk goes the way you'd hope. That was certainly true for one TikTok user who found herself in a rather unsettling situation. She had simply headed out for her usual evening stroll, nothing out of the ordinary. But as she made her way past a neighbor's house, something stopped her dead in her tracks.
I walk and I look up and I see my neighbors.
It was the erratic flickering of a light that first pulled her gaze in. Then she noticed her neighbors, all of them, seated together around a table. But nothing could have prepared her for what came next. Every single one of them snapped their heads toward her at precisely the same moment. So what do you make of that? How could they have possibly known she was watching? Was something darker going on? With that light strobing above them, the whole scene had a deeply eerie, almost otherworldly feel to it. If you've got a theory about what was really happening, drop it in the comments down below. A group of friends who run a YouTube channel dedicated to exploring abandoned and haunted locations decided one night to check out a derelict hotel in Japan. According to locals, shadowy figures and translucent shapes have been spotted drifting through the building after dark. Once inside, the crew spent a few minutes combing through the place without turning up anything out of the ordinary, so they chose to divide and conquer, each heading off in a separate direction to cover more ground. What one of them accidentally caught on film, though, was absolutely chilling. There on the staircase, a solid black silhouette materialized out of nowhere, frozen completely motionless. Yet the moment the man swung his camera back around toward the stairs just seconds later, it had vanished without a trace. He had no idea the figure was ever there while he was recording. After close to an hour of wandering through the hotel and coming up empty, the group decided to head home, leaving their cameras behind inside the building. What one of those cameras recorded while they were gone was something deeply unsettling, something none of them could make any sense of. A grotesque, nightmare-inducing face appeared on the footage, gazing straight into the lens. Having reviewed what their cameras picked up, the group is now firmly convinced that this abandoned hotel is every bit as haunted as the locals have long believed. So where do you stand on this one? The account Yeti Bronso is run by a young man who has dedicated his entire page to capturing what he believes are supernatural occurrences inside the hotel where he's employed. He says it all began with fellow staff members coming forward with stories about bizarre things happening throughout the corridors and guest rooms. For a long time, those accounts were dismissed as nothing but rumors until the footage started appearing. One of the most talked about moments came when two employees decided to set up a challenge using the hotel elevator, completely unaware of what their camera was about to pick up. The idea was simple: leave the camera recording inside the elevator, while one of them sprinted down the stairwell, racing to reach the bottom floor before the elevator did. But things take an unexpected turn during the recording. At a certain moment, just as the elevator doors begin to slide, a faint and eerie voice can be heard somewhere in the background. What's being said is impossible to make out, but the sound alone was enough to deeply unsettle everyone who watched it. And that wasn't the end of it. Just days later, another staff member reported something even more disturbing.
So, we're getting crazy calls from this room that is unoccupied in the second floor. And this is like the third time it's happened. And I'm bringing y'all along with me, so annoyed at this little trip that I've been doing constantly. Okay, keys, I think it's 2. Yeah, 226, that's right. 227, 227. Okay. The phone. No one's calling, no one's here. Everything's chilling. Yep, okay. No one here, no phone calls. I'm out. This is weird.
He claimed that calls kept coming in from one particular guest room. When he went to check it out, he found the room completely vacant. Baffled, he lingers inside for a moment trying to figure out what could be triggering the calls, but an overwhelming feeling of dread quickly takes over, and he makes his exit. Still, there's something in that footage that viewers can't stop talking about. In one corner of the room, a dark figure appears to be standing perfectly still, silently observing everything around it. It never shifts, never reacts, remaining completely frozen for the entire duration of the clip, which only makes the whole thing more chilling. Some people watching believe it's simply a shadow thrown by the room's lighting, Others see it as yet another piece of evidence in a growing list of strange incidents already tied to that hotel. So what do you think? Would you have the nerve to keep showing up for work alone in a place where things like this keep happening? This footage was captured near Winchester, Virginia, a city that served as the backdrop for some of the most brutal and bloody engagements of the entire US. Civil War. Michael is out recording his friend Jake when the two of them manage to catch something neither of them was prepared for.
Okay. Alright, ready?
Yeah.
You recording?
Yep.
Oh, now my socks are like wet because of the ground.
You.
Look at that. Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa! Did you catch that? Upon reviewing the footage afterward, Michael and Jake were stunned to find what appears to be a shadowy figure dressed in the uniform of a Civil War-era soldier, clutching a long, antique-style musket. The eerie silhouette drifts silently across the open field, directly behind them. Yet both men insist there was nobody else around at the time. So is this the wandering spirit of a soldier who never made it home? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Guy named Corey was sitting on the couch next to his partner when a noise suddenly erupted from the basement that stopped them both cold. It was a scream, piercing, abrupt, and unsettling enough to rattle the whole house. The most chilling part, as far as they knew, nobody else was home. Corey instantly pulled out his phone and hit record, desperate to figure out what kind of terrifying thing could be lurking down there.
My partner stepped out with the dog for one last walk at that night, and I was the only one left in the house at this point. I grabbed my phone as quick as I could and actually captured the noises. There was a couple different noises that were heard. It played that noise twice, and then laughter style, which you'll hear later, and then it also played like a very loud shrieking noise of a girl screaming. So I don't know, it came from the basement. It was just mind-numbingly loud. So I did what any composed man would do. I grabbed a knife and gave it a good 5 minutes and went down and looked around. So at this point I noticed everything was normal, and there's a couple of rooms down there I didn't really care to look in, so I just marked the doors with pillows so I could go back and see if anything had moved the next day from my video I was taking. And at this point in time, we determined just to get out of the house, take the dog with us, and
Come on, Jesse. Up.
get out of there, because there's just too many unexplained things.
Come on. Up. Let's go.
Camera rolling, Corey cautiously approached the basement stairs. Each step felt like a weight pressing down on him as he descended toward the darkness. But once he actually got down there, he found absolutely nothing. No intruder, no signs of forced entry, no movement whatsoever, just an eerie quiet. Even so, something nagged at him, so he came up with a basic experiment. He propped cushions up against the doors, reasoning that if anything pushed them open during the night, the cushions would give it away. Come morning, he went to check on them, and that's when the situation took a turn for the worse.
Well, this is the original. This is what she sent me. Normal. Video.
When Corey looked everything over, it was obvious the cushions had shifted. Something had disturbed them while the house was dark, yet there was no way to explain how. At that point, his fear evolved from something supernatural into an even more terrifying scenario. What if someone had been concealed inside the house the whole time? Determined to get answers, Corey set up security cameras, one in the spare bedroom and one covering the main floor. But rather than solving anything, the footage only deepened the mystery.
Get the hell out of there, and I went over there and put 2 cameras in there. One in the bonus room, one on the main floor, which captured everything. It was the weirdest thing. The dog just went up and down all day and just stared into a room and just whimpering back and forth. We're not gonna pretend like the decor up there is normal by any means. And then the camera did the weirdest thing, it just went blank. So she went back to check that night, and finally we captured the laughter on the cameras. Her motion had set it off and saved the clips. And to this very day, we cannot explain what happened that day. Everything's been disconnected.
The family dog is seen moving anxiously through the house, drifting from one room to the next, as though it's picking up on something no one else can detect. Then a low, unfamiliar growl rumbles through the audio, guttural, strange, and difficult to identify. The unease keeps mounting right up until Corey's wife gets out of bed, and almost immediately, those same screams start pouring out of the basement again. This time they seem louder, nearer, and far harder to dismiss. So what was truly going on inside that house? Who was screaming from the basement when no one should have been there? What disturbed those cushions in the dead of night? And why did the dog seem to sense it before any of the humans did? Perhaps the most unsettling question of all is this: was something concealed in the basement, or had a dark presence already been there, right alongside them, the entire time? Alberto runs a tattoo studio out of a dedicated room in his home. Just one space, his tools, his chair, his clients. Pretty standard setup, until strange things began unfolding in that room that he simply couldn't make sense of.
Me enteré a mi esposa. La neta ya me soy bien culo, la neta. Ya ni quisiera. ¿Hay alguien ahí? ¿Hay alguien ahí? No mames, no mames. ¿Ya viste, hija? ¿Ya viste, hija? ¿Hay alguien ahí? Espérate, hija. ¡Ey! Ay, cabrón. Lupita, hasta para allá, Lupita.
Pues tú hazte para acá, ¿entiendes?
Pues no hay alguien aquí, hija. Ay, cabrón.
Entiende, que ya te hagas para acá.
Su puta, no, vámonos para allá. Yo creo que sí lo voy a meter. Cerrar con seguro. Las llaves. Miren, en la casa. Hombre. Puta madre. No. Absolutamente nadie. No hay nadie. Wow.
A chair rotating on its own, items sliding off surfaces, as though an invisible hand was shoving them. He started filming more frequently, and the more footage he captured, the more intense things became, until that room no longer felt like it belonged to him alone.
Ay, güey. Los chuchos. Ay, Dios mío. Voy a buscar las llaves. No mames, me la jalaron. ¿Qué hago? Voy a entrar. Ay, güey. Mames. Voy a entrar. Aquí no hay nadie. Voy a poner la de esta para que vean que no hay nadie. Sí es cierto lo del cuadro de la monja. No me había fijado yo en este.
In a separate recording, it's the door. He begins picking up knocking sounds coming from inside the walls, doors swinging open and shut on their own, and the whole space takes on a heaviness that wasn't there before, as if something is demanding his attention or has already claimed it. A number of people who've seen his videos think he accidentally introduced something into that room.
La tele, mi perrita se puso incómoda porque están tocando la puerta, pero no sé si oyen. Pero la neta no hay nadie.
An object, a presence, something that chose not to leave. The activity didn't die down, it intensified. Alberto kept the camera going, and at this point, it might be the only thing holding him together. In this video, a man takes to his social media page to share a terrifying experience he's been living through. He explains that he regularly gets home in the early hours of the morning, somewhere between 2 and 4 a.m., and that during these late-night trips, he keeps encountering a mysterious figure lurking against a wall. On this particular night, he decided to pull out his camera and document what he'd been seeing, so people would actually believe him. He starts by showing the dark, quiet stretch of road he travels down. Then, as he moves closer to the spot in question, pay close attention to what his camera manages to pick up.
Aku mau sedikit cerita sama kalian perjalanan pulang yang sangat-sangat horor, menakutkan dan mistis gitu kan. Jadi aku sering pulang itu larut malam, jam 2, jam 3, kadang jam 4. Lihat jalanan sepi. Aku pulang lewat jalan ini gitu kan. Jalan yang sangat-sangat membagongkan gitu kan. Kalian mau lihat plot twistnya apa? Mari kita lanjutkan perjalanan ini ke depan. Allahu Akbar, dia sering ada di atas. Oh, dia sering main di atas.
As he passes through that section of the road, you can make out a pale white figure positioned right up against the wall. Looking more closely at it, the thing has a deeply unsettling appearance. There's really no other way to describe it than ghostly. So where do you stand on this one? Is this a genuine spirit caught on camera, or do you think there's another explanation? Drop your opinion down in the comments and let us know. In May of 2025, a TikTok user by the name of Herb Buyback uploaded this deeply unsettling piece of footage to his account. It was recorded by a residential security camera in the dead of night, and what it captured is as strange as it is creepy. The clip opens on the homeowner's yard, completely still under the cover of darkness. For a moment, nothing seems out of the ordinary, and then this unfolds.
किन बस्यो है स्लो गरे मैले फेरि धेरै स्लो हुन्छ भनेर गम्बुट लाछ हैन मेरो गम्बुट रहेछ कपालले जिम्रिन कपाल जिम्रिन रहेछ ओ कपाल उड्यो यो मान्छे जे कपाल उड्यो छाया छाया जस्तो छ हैन गम्बुटबाट माथि क्लियर देखिदैन नि के
Look carefully, and you'll notice what can only be described as the translucent figure of a woman drifting silently across the property. She remains visible for almost an entire minute before the recording suddenly ends, leaving far more questions than it does answers. There's a particular chill that comes from how composed and intentional her movements are. Not frantic or aimless, but focused, like someone with a clear destination in mind. A number of viewers have suggested she might simply be a real person whose appearance was warped by the camera's poor performance in low-light conditions, which can cause shadows and fabric to take on an almost supernatural quality. Even so, her pale, blurred form and unhurried stride are genuinely difficult to explain away. So who exactly was this woman? Was she just cutting through the property? Was she searching for something or someone she couldn't find in life? Or perhaps even beyond the grave, she's still committed to hitting her daily step count? Drop your theories in the comments. The following video was recorded somewhere beneath what appears to be an abandoned industrial building. No voices, no footsteps, no sound at all. Just the slow drift of the lens through deep shadow, past a low brick wall, and down a long corridor toward a faint greenish light in the far distance. Nothing seemed out of place at first. Watch.
Is your name Leroy? Dude, I just heard something from like another room. I heard something back that way. Dude, you hear that talking? You hear that? I hear a man's voice. Somebody might call us here, dude. Ooh, what was that? Ooh, what was that?
There, between two of the support pillars, a tall, slender shape stands completely still, dark, undefined, blending almost entirely into the surrounding blackness. If you look closely, you'll notice it has a distinctly humanoid silhouette, but no discernible features whatsoever. Some viewers think it's a shadow person, a type of entity described across dozens of independent accounts as a tall, featureless, dark presence that appears briefly and then simply vanishes. Others think it's pareidolia, the brain forcing a human shape out of low-light geometry, and the footage is ambiguous enough that neither explanation fully wins. Now, in this next clip, a demolition crew in Adelaide, South Australia, was tearing down the old Royal Adelaide Hospital when one of them started noticing things that didn't quite fit the job. The building had already been stripped back, corridors cluttered with debris bags, walls scarred from demolition work, the kind of place that feels emptied out but somehow not quite vacant. A friend of the filmer was part of the crew and captured this footage on a handheld camera, pointing down one of the dimly lit hallways toward a set of double doors, one of them covered with a semi-transparent plastic sheet. Something behind that plastic catches the eye immediately. Watch.
And there's no cunt behind there, right?
I'm staring there the whole
Yeah, fuck. It's gotta be some reason for it, eh? What are all these?
There's no one walking past that door.
Yeah, let's see.
Hey?
No, it's there again, dude. I'm filming it, eh? You alright, mate?
Oh, Kim is right.
Last time I was standing here by myself. Wouldn't you just freak, eh?
Yeah, dude, that's what
I thought it was like someone joking around.
No, I'm glad it did that.
Oh!
Why is it this above that line?
Can you explain that?
No.
There's no one on there. What the f, bro? Doesn't make any sense, man. And look at all this shit, like, in the air.
Looks like I see an arm going across those.
Behind the sheeting, a dark, amorphous shadow moves from right to left. Subtle, but there. Then a second shape appears, slightly more defined, holding position on the left side of the door. When the man in the full orange hazmat suit walks down the corridor to check what's behind the door, he finds nothing. The room on the other side, according to the footage, was an operating room, and it was empty. What makes this harder to dismiss is that the Royal Adelaide Hospital had been associated with paranormal reports for years before demolition even began, with staff and visitors describing strange shadows and unexplained figures throughout the building. Some believe that spirits tied to places of suffering, death, and trauma don't simply leave when the walls come down, and that the demolition itself may have stirred something. Where do you think they go when the building is finally gone? This next video was recorded inside what appears to be a long, dark hallway at nighttime, a corridor lined with wood-paneled walls and repeating archways that recede deeper and deeper into shadow, the kind of space that already feels wrong before anything happens in it. The artificial overhead lighting casts a warm, yellowish glow along the upper walls, but the far end of the hallway stays completely dark, like whatever's down there isn't meant to be seen. No one filmed this. No one was standing at the other end. Watch. Just beyond the first archway, a faint whitish-grey mist drifts smoothly from right to left across the corridor and vanishes into the shadows in under 2 seconds. Some viewers think it's a dust particle or lens artifact, and with footage this blurred, that's genuinely hard to rule out. Others believe it's something else entirely. What do you think was moving through that hallway? In this next video, a father had been growing increasingly concerned about his young daughter's behavior. At first, it seemed harmless enough. Like many children her age, she would spend long periods talking to someone nobody else could see, pausing as if she were listening to responses, laughing at jokes that no one had told, and occasionally looking toward empty corners of the room as though another child were standing there with her. Naturally, her father assumed it was an imaginary friend, until it stopped being a case of a child talking to something invisible. It became a case of something responding. Watch.
Miren hasta el final. Esto es una cosa muy loca lo que pasa acá, cerca de mi barrio, a la vuelta de mi casa. Bueno, mi hija se ve que tiene un amigo invisible porque
Ustedes miren. Váyale, decirle que traiga el coche. Decirle que traiga el coche, decirle. Le dice que traiga el coche.
¡Dale el coche!
No.
In the video, the father challenges the situation directly. He asks his daughter to tell her imaginary friend to move the walker, and it did. One of the oldest paranormal beliefs surrounding children is the idea that they may be more sensitive to things adults no longer notice. Across countless cultures, there are stories claiming that young children can see spirits, entities, or presences that become inaccessible as people grow older. Whether that's folklore, superstition, or something else entirely is impossible to prove, but stories like this continue to fuel the belief. Some viewers suggested the child may have unknowingly formed a connection with a spirit. Others went much further, warning that not everything presenting itself as a child's friend has good intentions. What do you think? The following video was captured by a man doing what appears to be a late-night walkthrough of an empty industrial building. Service corridors, loading bays, the kind of place that feels unsettling even when nothing's happening. He moves through a series of narrow hallways, lit by fluorescent overhead lights, past recycling signs and yellow safety markings, before pushing through a plastic strip curtain into a vast, dimly lit loading dock below. Concrete pillars, orange industrial lights, long shadows stretching across the floor. The space is completely deserted, and from the moment the clip begins, there's already something deeply wrong, because a loud, continuous, high-pitched alarm tone is ringing out through the entire area with no clear origin. He pans the camera across the empty dock, taking in the loading bays and the grimy walls, and you can feel the tension building. Watch.
Oh, shit. Who's there?
He still hasn't gotten over that scream, and from the look of things, something knew he was there and reacted. Liminal spaces like loading docks and service corridors have developed their own folklore online in recent years, described as places that exist between destinations, spaces no one is supposed to linger in, and that in some accounts are thought to attract residual energy or presences tied to the labor and isolation those spaces carry. The second clip takes that atmosphere even further. The person filming moves through another service corridor in what appears to be the same building, pulling aside a mold-stained plastic curtain before walking slowly down a narrow passage with concrete walls and warm yellow overhead light. Listen closely. If you look at the top right corner, you'll see a humanoid figure hanging. After he shared the footage, many people immediately connected the figure to the scream captured earlier. Some speculated that whatever produced that sound may have been the same presence now appearing in the corridor. Of course, skeptics argue that the figure could be an illusion created by shadows, pipes, hanging material, or the low image quality of the footage. But for those who believe the scream and the figure are connected, that's a difficult explanation to accept. Now in this next clip, a man is working the night shift alone at a dark industrial factory, his first night on the job, when something stops him cold in one of the long corridors. He's moving through the building with a flashlight, checking doors, narrating to himself the way people do when they're trying not to feel uneasy about being completely alone in a space that large. You can hear it in his voice, that thin attempt at casual conversation with no one in particular. He makes his way down a long, empty hallway, concrete floor, exposed beams above, sparse lights doing almost nothing against the dark, and announces out loud that he's there by himself. Watch.
One more door. Yeah, this one's heavy. I'm here, all by myself.
At the far end of the hallway, a figure with long dark hair briefly peeks around the corner, just for a moment. What makes the sighting so unsettling is the timing. The figure appears immediately after he acknowledges that he's alone, almost as though something heard him and decided to respond. Whether that's coincidence or not, it's the detail that viewers keep coming back to. Many people compared the figure to one of the most common apparitions reported in industrial locations and abandoned buildings, the peeking ghost. Unlike full-bodied apparitions that stand openly in view, these sightings are often described as figures that watch from doorways, corners, stairwells, and hallways, revealing only part of themselves before quickly retreating from sight. Factories can be especially fertile ground for stories like these. Decades of accidents, overnight shifts, injuries, and constant human activity often leave behind local legends among workers. In many places, night shift employees pass down stories about figures seen in corridors, shadows standing near machinery, or unexplained encounters that only seem to happen after everyone else has gone home. Now, in this next clip, a man is spending a quiet night at home with his young son, the kind of ordinary evening where the biggest concern should be which action figure wins the fight. But something on the porch keeps pulling his attention back, and when it happens a second time, with his son sitting right there in the room, he doesn't hesitate for a second. Watch.
Se movió la silla. No mames. Hijo. Vente. Salte. ¿Ahí estás, hijo? Sí. Te voy a echarte un ojito, papi. Quiero jugar contigo. Pero se pelean, papi. Sí. Ay, no. A ver. ¿Quién es el superhéroe y quién es el villano? Cuéntame, porque yo no sé.
Mira, este es el superhéroe. Y este es el villano.
No mames. No mames, viste. Vete para acá, hazte para acá. Se movió la silla. No mames. Hijo. Vente. Salte. Vámonos. Salte. Mierda. No mames. ¿Qué pedo? Vente, agarra tus cosas. Vámonos de aquí. Vámonos, vete por la casa. Ahorita jugamos acá adentro, ¿sí? Es que se movieron las cosas. Métete, papi. Métete.
A white metal rocking chair on the porch begins moving on its own. No breeze, no one nearby, nothing physically touching it. The man grabs his son and gets him out immediately. Some viewers immediately pointed to a poltergeist-type presence, entities associated with kinetic disturbances, objects moving without contact, often described as being drawn to spaces where children are present. Others weren't ready to go that far, arguing the chair could have been disturbed by uneven flooring or a vibration from inside the house. But if you watch the second movement closely, the chair doesn't drift or wobble. It pushes forward with force, at a moment when the house is otherwise completely still. What's harder to dismiss is the pattern, the same object, the same location, twice in one night, and both times right when the man and his son were nearby. Whether something in that house was reacting to them or simply didn't want them there is a question the father clearly couldn't wait around to answer. Quick thing before we continue, all of our videos are now available on Spotify too, so if that's somewhere you already find yourself late at night, every compilation we've made is waiting there for you. Whichever way you'd rather watch, the link's in the description. Now back to the video. The following clip dates back to June 28th, 2013, when a man was at home in Arlington, Virginia, during a powerful storm. With nothing else to do, he picked up his iPhone and began recording the storm from his apartment window, capturing 3 short clips simply to pass the time, with no expectation that anything unusual would come from it. Days later, while going through his phone, he considered deleting the videos, but before doing so, he decided to watch them one last time, and at first, nothing stood out. Everything seemed normal, just flashes of lightning and the outline of the storm outside. But after replaying one of the clips a few more times, something finally caught his attention. Something that hadn't been visible to him in the moment while he was recording. Watch. For a brief moment, the faint figure of what appears to be a girl, or possibly a woman, can be seen standing near the window. What makes this detail particularly unsettling is the context surrounding it, because there was no power in the apartment at the time, meaning no internal light source that could create reflections, and directly opposite the window is a solid wall, leaving very little room for the figure to be explained as a reflection from outside. He was also completely alone in the apartment when this was recorded, and more importantly, he did not see or sense anything unusual while filming, which raises the question of how something so visible on camera could go entirely unnoticed in real time. Some interpretations suggest that certain conditions, like storms, power outages, and sudden changes in light, can create the perfect environment for unusual visual anomalies, where shadows and reflections behave in ways that can be easily misinterpreted. However, others believe that moments like this, especially when something appears only on camera and not to the human eye, may point to something that exists outside normal perception, only becoming visible under very specific circumstances. Whatever was captured in that clip remains unexplained, and without further evidence or updates, this incident continues to linger as one of those recordings where something is clearly there, but what it actually is has yet to be determined. In this next video, a cafe that now serves customers every day was once an old hardware store, a place that already carried years of history before it was ever transformed. But what makes this location particularly unsettling isn't just its age, it's what reportedly happened there, because according to accounts tied to the previous owners, the original owner's son passed away inside that very building about 9 years ago, leaving behind a story that didn't end when the place changed hands. The new owners began noticing something strange not long after moving in, because every afternoon at exactly 3 p.m., long after the cafe had closed and everyone had left, they would hear distinct footsteps moving through the space, slow, steady, and consistent, as though someone was walking through the cafe during hours when it should have been completely empty. Curious and unsettled, they decided to set up a camera to see if anything could explain the sounds they had been hearing. This is what they found. If you look closely, something in the frame appears to move, subtle enough to miss at first, but clear enough on replay to suggest that whatever is moving is not part of the normal stillness of the room. In other recordings, they captured additional activity inside the cafe. Watch. In this clip, a chair moves on its own, with no one present in the store at the time, no visible cause, no disturbance in the environment that could explain the motion, which only deepens the unease surrounding what might be happening there. Moments like this begin to shift the narrative from coincidence to pattern, because when movement is repeated in an empty space, especially in a location tied to a past tragedy, it invites speculation that whatever once occupied that space may not have fully left. Now in this next video, a man named Troy begins documenting a series of disturbing events happening inside his home, and from the very beginning, there's a clear pattern to it all. Because whatever is present doesn't simply move things randomly. It almost feels like something is attempting to rearrange the space to its own preference, only for it to come off as chaotic and destructive, leaving rooms in disarray as though an unseen presence is constantly interfering with the natural order of the house. Drawers are left open, objects are shifted out of place, and furniture appears slightly repositioned between moments, not in a way that feels accidental, but in a way that suggests intention, as though something is actively interacting with the environment and reshaping it, even if imperfectly. Watch this.
It's getting more intense.
You can hear heavy footsteps, like someone is moving freely from one part of the house to another. The same activity has been reported in multiple areas of the house, including the 3rd floor where his son usually plays, which only adds another layer of concern, because now it's not just about unexplained movement, it's about something potentially occupying spaces meant to feel safe. Watch.
It's happening on the 3rd floor, too.
Again, the same stomping, the same scattered movement of objects, but this time accompanied by several orbs drifting through the frame. At this point, the pattern begins to feel less like coincidence, and some warn that repeated disturbances like this can escalate over time if whatever is behind it is not addressed. And that's where it starts to get more unsettling, because if this is something that's growing more active, then what Troy is experiencing now might only be the beginning of something far more intense. So if you've ever dealt with something like this, Or have any idea what steps might actually help in a situation like this? Share your thoughts, because in cases like these, sometimes the difference between things getting better or worse comes down to what you do next, and whether or not you understand what you're truly dealing with. In this next video, two sisters are home alone inside their bedroom when their house alarm suddenly goes off.
I'm recording. Wait. Do you hear that? Can you check the security footage? Yeah. Oh my god.
The security app shows the front door wide open, as if someone has just walked in. Naturally, they assume it's a break-in, but when they replay the exact moment the door opens, there's no one there. To make things worse, a police siren can be heard outside around the same time, adding to the panic. But that was not all that happened.
What is it?
They hear their bedroom door open. Convinced someone is inside the house, they make a split-second decision to escape through the window. After the footage spread, many viewers blamed the wind, but the sisters posted another clip explaining why that theory doesn't hold.
Wondering that maybe the door was the wind, but clearly, as you can tell, you have to kind of force down to close it fully. And there's just so much space between, don't mind. There's kind of like a huge distance, so there's no way the wind could have gotten that.
After explaining the door situation, they showed what completely changed their perspective. A moment captured on camera that made them question everything they thought they knew about that day. Take a look.
Clear.
A small, shadowy figure dashes past the camera. It moves incredibly fast, too fast to clearly define. There are no visible features, no clear arms, legs, or face, just a dark mass that crosses the frame and disappears. And if you look closely, the motion camera seems to adjust, almost like it's tracking something moving freely through the house. The sisters say this is a new build, not an old property with some long-forgotten history. So the typical house history explanation wasn't even on their radar. But the sequence is what unsettles them most. The front door opening first, then the bedroom door, then the shadow figure appearing inside. They believe something forced its way in. And that raises an earlier question. If something unseen opened the front door, could it have also opened the bedroom door? Skeptics might argue camera glitches, motion blur, pressure differences in the house, or even a small animal moving quickly past the lens. Security cameras, especially in low light, can distort shapes and exaggerate speed. But the sequence of events, alarm, door opening, bedroom door moving, shadow figure, happening back to back is what unsettles most viewers. So what do you think? A chain of coincidences and technical quirks, or something that entered that house and moved through it freely? The following clip was captured during a paranormal investigation in San Antonio, Texas on December 11th, 2016, inside a location that investigators had already described as deeply unsettling long before this footage was recorded, with reports of cold spots forming without warning, faint whispers heard in empty rooms, and an overwhelming feeling of being watched that seemed to follow anyone who stepped too far inside, especially in the darker sections of the building where the air felt heavier and the silence never quite stayed silent. According to those familiar with the location, it wasn't uncommon for equipment to malfunction or spike unexpectedly, as though something unseen was interfering with the environment, and there had even been previous claims of shadowy figures moving just out of sight, never fully visible, but always close enough to be noticed. Watch.
Do you need help moving on?
Alright, so let's play this shit back.
Let's see if we got quiet.
Is there anyone here right now?
Sign that you are here. Reach out and touch my shoulder. My right shoulder. Give my jacket a quick tug.
If anyone's here, could you please state your name?
Using my phone because the other recorder died.
Whoa, that was weird. I think. What? I think I panned over here and it looked like
What appears in the footage is difficult to dismiss because a white mass suddenly darts from left to right with a speed that doesn't quite match anything physical in the space before it seems to shift direction and reach toward the investigator, a movement that feels almost reactive rather than random. The way it moves has led many to believe this isn't simply dust or camera interference, but a ghost, especially because of its shape, its direction, and the timing of its appearance. Moments like this tend to blur the line between explanation and speculation, because while there are always attempts to rationalize what's seen, the behavior of whatever appears in this clip doesn't settle easily into a clear or comfortable answer, leaving behind a moment that continues to raise more questions than it resolves. And for now, whatever was captured in that investigation remains a mystery. In the following video, two men are out in Port Glasgow one night, exploring the grounds around what used to be the Clune Park estate, a sprawling complex of abandoned brick tenements that locals have long called Scotland's Chernobyl, a place frozen in time and almost entirely empty. They're moving through the dark with a smartphone flashlight, passing a public sculpture near the old high school, when one of them aims the beam up at the facade of a derelict multi-story block. He asks the other if he saw movement up there. The other says no. Watch.
Just watch this.
Isn't it? Future in hand.
430 abandoned flats, and there is something in the window.
Open. Yo. You see movement then? Move the light. Yo. Yo. The fuck is that? Yo.
When the flashlight swings back on, a pale humanoid face with dark, hollowed-out eyes is peering out from behind a tattered curtain in a second-floor window, visible for barely a second, before the light cuts out and the camera drops away fast. The man filming shouts out loud, the footage shaking violently as he backs off. If you look at the window carefully, you'll notice the foot appears only when the light hits it, passive, like something that was already standing there, waiting. Skeptics point to squatters, since buildings like these, mostly sealed but never fully secured, attract people with nowhere else to go. But others aren't so sure. A face that pale, that still, in a building that should be completely empty, that's hard to explain away. In this next clip, a woman is reviewing security footage from what appears to be a retail store, specifically an aisle marked on the system, lined with shelves and a cluster of large cardboard boxes stacked near the center. The timestamp on the footage reads around 7:30 in the morning, well before the kind of chaos that fills a store later in the day. She's playing back the recording on a monitor, and something in the footage has clearly stopped her. She rewinds it, replays it, and keeps asking the same question. Watch.
All right, watch closely. Watch. See it? All right, now no, it's not. All right, now. I'll rewind it, I'm gonna do it again. See it?
A translucent, grayish humanoid figure with a visible head and shoulder shape moves swiftly from right to left across the aisle, passing through the open space in under a second before vanishing entirely. She plays it twice so you can see it both times. Some viewers think it's a reflection or a digital artifact from the camera compression. Others believe it's exactly what it looks like, a figure that doesn't belong there. What do you think is moving through that aisle at 7:30 in the morning? The following video was captured by a home security camera positioned high in a kitchen, shooting in infrared night vision, the kind of footage that only gets reviewed when something already feels wrong. The kitchen is quiet, the house is dark, but somewhere between the silence and the ambient hum of the camera, something else is caught on the audio. Listen closely. It's faint, a low, raspy, two-syllable whisper, with no visible source anywhere in the frame. Some listeners hear it as a name, something like Jesse or Ashley, though the distortion makes it impossible to confirm. This type of capture is what paranormal researchers call an EVP, or electronic voice phenomenon, the idea that disembodied voices or sounds from an unknown source can sometimes be recorded on audio equipment even when nothing is audible to the human ear at the time. Another day, around 3 a.m. this happened. Watch. A loud crashing sound erupts from the basement, heavy, metallic, echoing, and then, just a few seconds later, a low, guttural whisper cuts through the static. The words are hard to make out, but many listeners hear either "get out" or "help me," both of which carry very different implications. One suggests something territorial, something that doesn't want her there. The other raises a darker possibility entirely. 2 separate nights, the same kitchen, the same camera, and each time, a voice that has no business being there. You decide what that means. The following video was captured on November 7th by a home security camera mounted in the corner of a living room. A room that, at least on this particular night, wasn't as empty as it should have been. The camera's infrared night vision renders everything in black and white, and for the first few seconds, the room looks completely normal. A sectional sofa, a shelving unit, the hard tiled floor. But if you look closely at the right side of the frame, near the corner between the wall and the shelving unit, something is already there. Watch.
There was a record that I studied out on that absolutely played.
A tall, thin, semi-transparent shadow figure stands completely still in that corner, and then, without warning, a picture frame crashes violently off camera, and the figure simply fades and disappears. Shadow people, as they're often described in paranormal circles, are typically jet black humanoid silhouettes with no discernible features. But what makes this one harder to dismiss is the timing. It didn't just vanish on its own. Something fell, and then it was gone. Whether the crash startled it, triggered it, or was caused by it entirely, that question doesn't have a clean answer.